I don't think he kept a diary. What he has been doing is what's interesting is he had the opportunity to go back to Vietnam a couple of years ago. So 57 years after he was,
Oh,
some 50 years afterwards, as kind of a remembrance and trying to come to terms with what happened and visit old sites and things like that. And that brought forth a lot of memories and reconnecting with, making, I think some of the things that struck him were one, how almost forgiving people in Vietnam that he met seemed to be, not, like, and I think he felt like he didn't really feel any personal guilt. At least he didn't have to, from what I know, he didn't have to engage in any kind of, actual shooting or anything like that. But also things like how in Vietnam, it's called the American War. So even
right.
the whole notion of, the Vietnam War, well, for Vietnamese, it's the American War because, um,
We came there.
yeah. So um, yeah, I don't think he never told me if he kept a diary or anything like that. I never saw anything. I never saw anything like that. He took photographs. He did a lot of photography. I think kind of to a little bit to your question when he went back, and I've seen all the photos and images when he went back, and the things that struck, and I know people hear this all the time, but things that immediately come back were like smells, particularly different types of foods and the smells, and like you said, the sounds and the music. Hearing, like,
Yeah.
you really brought back like some of the popular music songs of the time, and made him really want to. He remembered even some of his Vietnamese language that he learned, and he was telling me
Cool.
stories about, I guess the language, like it's like even to say water is like so many different
Yeah, it's
tonalities and meanings
complex.
and stuff like that, and just kind of anecdotes like that, that brings back, because when you're there, 4 years, you start to pick up a lot of the language, and then you
Absolutely.
forgot it, and now you kind of gets to remember
That's
it.
really cool. I bet you
Yeah.
enjoyed that.
One thing that stuck, it's not his story so much, but sometimes we'd have other Vietnam vets come by, and one guy told me he went to Vietnam later, but he was in, I guess, as it became a little bit more, Vietnam was the first war that was not segregated, but there was still, like, de facto segregation in some of these units. And I think after 65, a lot more blacks were being drafted. I think it was almost a cynical move to lower the education threshold.
Yeah.
So hundreds of thousands of more blacks were being drafted into the war. So it really became more political. But this gentleman was part of almost like a Green Beret, like special ops unit or something like that. But they were like a unit of black soldiers, and he told me how they were basically sent on like suicide missions with the expectation that you
They
know
come back.
they're not going to make it back. Like, let's send these units in because nobody else, we don't want to send anybody else. Then it's okay if they go on a suicide mission. But these guys were so badass that they would succeed in all their missions to the point where you know I mean the pilots and the white soldiers who got in trouble. They called for this unit to come get them out of trouble because they knew these guys. You know,
Would do it.
yeah, they knew. It sounded like a good TV, made for TV. Um,
No, but in
yeah,
reality, their situation was dire. Their country had
yeah,
hung them out to dry, essentially.
yeah. So yeah, those are the kind of memories, and then just the juxtaposition. Like, I keep going back at that time between you seeing the Apollo moon mission on TV. That's something that's very prevalent in my mind. Seeing the astronauts going on the moon, and then the next second the news is going to soldiers with the rifles going through the Vietnam rice paddies, or you know the famous images of the napalm girl, or the
Yeah.
or the that guy who got shot on the street.
The Vietnamese.
Yeah. So, you kind of see, and then we'll go to Sesame Street and everything's, like,
It was just crazy, like back and
yeah.
forth.
So it's like, it's really, really, really weird. Like what is reality? Where we're here. And then you start to see the campus protests and the anti-war movement. All of this stuff was swirling around at the same time. And, yeah. And
Made
then,
life rather complex, I can imagine.
yeah. So those are some of the stories. I mean, for myself, I mean, definitely, like when I came of age, we were under fear of being drafted for the Gulf War. So this would have
Oh, I
been,
can imagine.
yeah, this would have been in the 80s, and they were talking about reinstating a draft, for the Gulf War. I had friends going to that, and so the whole, just
You're
at that time was like, we definitely want to figure out how not to go. I mean, same thing like the famous lines from the people in like late 60s and stuff is like, you better get good grades or die. It's like if you're not gonna stay in school and get good grades, make yourself vulnerable for the draft, then you'd be thrown out to, some war front. So
Yeesh.
yeah. So it's a good reminder to, the benefits of school and things like that.